everyone? It's your boy Luke here for a round 4 prize picks targets for this week's Arnold Palmer Invitational. Saturday was a bit tilting for us. We hit 4 of 5, so profited, but we were also close to a 5 of 5 that really I can't get over it. We had Taylor Gooch under 71.5. He ended up birdieing 2 of his last 4 holes, and on the 18th hole, missed a 5-footer for par, which would have had us for the 5 of 5, over $1,000 profit today. We'll settle for our $100 profit for the day, and I'm sorry guys, we were so close there. That's going to happen from time to time, and unfortunately, it was about as tilting as a situation as possible, but we reload. We've had 4 of 5, 2 of the 3 days so far, 3 of 5 the other day, so still well over double our bankroll to start the week, so definitely a solid start. But let's go ahead and secure that 5 of 5. I'm tired of getting these 4 of 5s. They're so tilting, particularly when they're as close as what we had today. But with that out of the way, looking on to a brighter tomorrow, tomorrow with more profit in the schedule. Let's go ahead and hop right on into it. All right, we're going to start off with a review of today's numbers from the round here on Saturday. And you can see the scoring average was over 2 over par. It was 2.06. On round 2, it was 2.38. Actually 2.34, which is obviously a little bit higher, but a lot of that comes down to field strength. Because the cut line happens on Friday, a lot of the lower tier players that were shooting 10, 12 over par from day to day were knocked out of there, so a lot of the outliers aren't included in this average. In general, conditions were tougher than what we saw on Friday. The wind was kicking up, we had firmer and faster greens, also more difficult pin locations, all of which will also be the case for Sunday. These greens are going to get firmer and faster as more and more sunlight hits them. They're not getting watered overnight, anything like that. You're also going to see the pin locations on Sunday be the most devilish that they set them up for the entire week. And anytime you have that Sunday pressure of any of those guys in contention, you're going to see some awry shots from time to time. In terms of the weather, let's do a check-in on that. And you'll see that it's also relatively windy, right? In the morning, you have 6 to 10 miles an hour wind, which for the morning is a little bit higher than usual, but in the afternoon, 10 to 13 miles an hour, which is going to cause these players trouble. That's the sustained winds. Maybe more notable is the wind gusts. As early as 9 a.m. in the morning, you're looking at 16 mile an hour gusts, and that is essentially going to last for the entire day, which is going to cause these players trouble. You saw that from time to time. When these players get gusted in the middle of their shot, it usually ends up coming a little bit short, or of course, if it's downwind, ends up completely sailing the green. The pin locations also look devilish. Hole number 18 is borderline unfair there in the back right. 17 is also extremely devilish just over that bunker over there. In fact, this pin location brings this water into play. Any mishit that doesn't make it to this bunker will end up in that water. A few other tough locations to take a look at. Number 1 and 2 are a lot more difficult than what we saw for most of these rounds. Hole number 3 brings the water into play. Same thing with hole number 6. Hole number 11 also brings the water into play, and hole number 8. We're going to be looking at a lot of variance here on Sunday. You're going to have some people that avoid that trouble, might be able to put up something in the 2 to 3 under par range, but of course a ton of blow-up rounds on the other end of that spectrum. So with that being said, what does that mean for our card? In terms of the props I'm targeting, I'm not targeting strokes as heavily as today. Of course, when we were able to get some of those guys in the morning wave that weren't dealing with as much wind, they were able to go out there and score. We took advantage of that with a Will Zalatoris today. We're able to take the under there at 71.5. But tomorrow, the wind's going to come early and often, again, as early as 9 a.m., which means we're not going to see nearly as important as a morning afternoon wave type of effect, which is why I'm targeting birdies or better. These guys are going to be in difficult conditions regardless of when they tee off. The guys in the morning might have slightly easier conditions just because it's a little bit more damp, maybe not as firm and fast as what you'll see in the afternoon. So that's also why I like Mark Leishman here at 3.5 birdies or better. He's somebody who is an aggressive player. He's one of the better putters on the PGA Tour. So for him to get to 4 birdies, I don't think it's too far-fetched. He's somebody who's also won at this event in the past, tends to be really good with those long irons, and going into the week was one of my favorite picks to win. Of course, didn't have the best Saturday. That's why he's priced down here at just 3.5 birdies. But given his prowess at the golf course, he'll be teeing off at 8:15 a.m. when you have some of the softest conditions you'll have throughout the entire day. Definitely somebody I'm taking a few looks at. Another birdie or better prop I'm taking a look at is Sungjae Im at 3.5 as well. He's also somebody that's an excellent putter. He's won at difficult conditions in the past, most notably notably at the Honda Classic. He's also performed well at other Florida golf courses, also over there in Texas. And last year, he was the highest birdie player in all of the PGA Tour, made more birdies than any other player in all of the tour. That is going to bode well here in the birdie or better category. So an aggressive player, somebody who's not afraid to go out there and fill it up in bunches. And lastly, we have Matthew Fitzpatrick at just 3 birdies or better. Of course, a huge part of the attractiveness here is the fact that he's at 3. We don't have the hook there at 3.5. So if he only ends up getting to 3, not hitting the over there, you do have that push in our back pocket. So I do like going to that a little bit. He's also somebody who's a great putter, just like these other 2 players. And when it comes to birdie or better percentage, filling it up with frequency, that's exactly how you get the job done. So definitely somebody I'm taking a look at for tomorrow. He's also a high quality player in wind. We've seen that. He's from the European Tour, from England. He's won over there internationally, particularly in some of the nastiest conditions that they see over there on the European Tour. So definitely somebody I like here for Sunday. And lastly, we have 2 strokes props, but you'll see rather than taking the unders, both of these are going to be overs. And because we're doing this, it also does give us 12.5x value. Like I said before, these are all overs, but the way that Prize Picks judges stroke overs is like a quote-unquote fade. And if you're taking the overs for birdie or better, you're obviously hoping that a player does well. So the mixture of 3 pros and 3 cons in your player card is going to give you that 12.5x value, which of course is the highest value that we can get. And in terms of conditions, it's going to be difficult. I know that the scoring average was 2 over par yesterday. It could get close to 3 over par here for Sunday just because of the pin locations, the firm and fast conditions, also the wind that is going to be a constant from Saturday to Sunday. So Will Zalatoris, even though he was somebody we took the under on for Saturday, I'm not quite as confident here for Sunday. He also had a really solid putting round today. One of his birdies was from over 25 feet. Can't really count on that. And also, he was excellent at getting up and down. He wasn't quite as sharp with his approach play as we would have hoped. And for him to have actually hit the under today was a little bit of a miracle. We got away with him not having his best stuff. Again, kind of having that magic around the green that he doesn't typically show. So for Sunday, when we're going to have even more difficult pin locations, his putter can be something of a problem from time to time, can cause him some issues. I'm going to be fading him here on Sunday. Even though he paid us off today, just from the numbers from what we saw today, I don't expect that to be the case for Sunday. And then lastly, we have Tyrrell Hatton, where we're also taking the over here. He's also teeing off later in the day, much like a Will Zalatoris. That also factors into why we're fading him. Today, he teed off in the morning, right? Had that solid round, was able to get it under par. But now, because of that, because he vaulted himself up the leaderboard, is teeing off in midday when we're going to have the worst conditions by far. Same thing with Tyrrell Hatton. So Hatton is somebody who typically carries form from round to round. Obviously, it looked really good in the first 2 days, but ended up shooting well over par. That's an issue for Tyrrell Hatton. He's more of an emotional player, tends to react rather violently to him having bad rounds. And when he has blowout rounds, he tends to follow him up with yet another. So the fact that he's at just 72, if he shoots anything over par, ends up hitting the over for us. If he ends up shooting even par, which is also in the cards, we'd end up having to push just like what we have there with Matt Fitzpatrick. So having that in our back pocket also is something that makes the pick a little bit more attractive and something that I'm going to be taking here for the slate. In terms of a general viewpoint here, if you're trying to add more picks or more cards, that type of thing, we're going to be taking the fade stance on most players, right? For greens and regulation, for fairways, I'd be taking a lot of the unders. For score, I'd be taking a lot of the overs. The few exceptions here are some of the aggressive players that were at the bottom of the birdie or better board. Just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's impossible to take birdies, right? So the one board where I do think there's opportunity is the birdie or better board, because most of them are just at 3.5 or 4, right? Nobody's priced at 4.5, which I do think is fair. So I do think it's worth taking a few shots there, especially to try and get to this 12.5x value, right? That's why we're trying to differentiate, not just take one trade of thought there, because if you were to just take all fade stances, you can't get to that 12.5x number. Prize Picks is ingenious with the way that they do that, so we do have to take a little bit of a contrarian stance. That is all I've got for the round 4 Prize Picks targets. Before we go on and get out of here, make sure you let me know down in the comments what your favorite prop on the board is. Whether it was something that I mentioned or completely off my radar, make sure to go ahead and let me know what that is down below. And of course, we're going to have even more Prize Picks content for next week in the Players Championship. I'll be there from Wednesday through Sunday for the practice round and all 4 days. So we'll have a really good idea of how this is playing. We'll be able to give you a little bit of a report from the course as well. well. So if you haven't already liked the video, make sure you do that. But more importantly, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you guys go ahead and do that. We're going to have all that content coming, whether it's a course breakdown, DFS content, prize picks content, showdown content. I have you guys covered for all of that. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of that. Of course, good luck with all of your prize picks props here for Sunday. And let's finish off with a 5 of 5.